I want to again thank you all for your patience, for being with us yesterday, Dr. Schuchat, and then for you all being here this morning to help answer these questions. We are concerned. In my district in Tennessee, now have a Williamson County case and a Shelby County case. And so as you can imagine, as this started to make its way into the news last evening and this morning, I'm hearing from parents and from constituents and medical care providers and health care providers with some questions. And one of the questions that has been asked of me, and if you can provide some guidance on how best to answer this, I think it would be helpful. The way we understand the process, when a doctor takes a culture that goes to a state lab, when a state lab suspects that this culture has either the H1 or the N1, and they decide that there is probable cause, that it could be the H1N1 strand, that it comes to the CDC for confirmation, then my question is, number one, how many of those cultures do you have waiting for confirmation? And number two, once that culture makes it to you, how long does it take for you to provide that confirmation?
Part of our planning has been to make sure that we have adequate staff day and night for something like this, and the laboratory staff in the influenza division have been doing, we've had shifts throughout the night, throughout the weekend. But we've also taken steps to increase the capacity at the state public health labs with these kits that were recently approved for shipment and started to be shipped on Monday. It was incredibly quick, so that more and more state and local areas will be able to do that confirmatory testing on site. We're not working with a backlog. We're really working around the clock to make sure that information that's so critical for local decision making is available. We're also we've made many contingency plans for the surge idea so that the state and locals have some capacity through the public health laboratory network, and that also we've got some agreements with commercial labs to help with surge of specimens for sort of the first.
So is it fair to say you all turn this around in a day or a matter of hours? What is the time frame there?
Yes, there are several steps. You know, a doctor will take a test and may get a positive rapid result or may get a suspicious result, forward that on to the state or local laboratory where the strain needs to grow and additional things happen, although now they have these PCR tests that are more rapid. At that result, things get sent to us. Sometimes the shipping is even one of the longer steps, although we've been really expediting that. And then it's several hours upon receipt in the CDC lab before a result would be available. Things may change over the days ahead as increasing numbers of cases are detected, and we really need to make some triage decisions. But at this point, with new states wondering, do we have this or not, we're really prioritizing that kind of question that is, going to make a difference for a school district, for instance.
Dr. Sharfstein.
Sure, and just to follow on, CDC just did an unbelievable job basically inventing a lab test for this that could be shared with the states within, a couple days. And FDA worked with them so that all the instructions were there, all the quality assurance procedures are there. And now the State Public Health Lab Network, which was sort of created to be ready for exactly that, they have the kit. So for someone in your county, really it should go to the state lab, and they're the ones making the diagnosis. Those samples shouldn't even have to go to CDC anymore. And that was all done so quickly to be able to give them that capacity.
That is great. So individuals should know within a day, 2 days. What would be the answer?
That probably is going to depend on the policies of the state lab.
Of the state.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the test itself doesn't take more than a few hours. It's a question of how they're handling getting
all right. And
samples.
you have both the public labs and the private labs involved in this process.
It wouldn't be the hospital labs. The public state labs or some of the bigger city labs are part of this public lab network. There are a couple commercial laboratories that aren't doing that special testing, but they're ready for surge of the original testing.
I've got one other question, and we may not have time for you to answer it, but we've had questions from several people. This is not flu season in the U.S., and this seems to be a very strong strand. And as we move into the warmer months, it may naturally dissipate, but your expectation for when we move into flu season in November. How do we best prepare for a resurgence? Do you think it will come back? Will we have a vaccine by that time? What is the preparation strategy for next year's flu season?
These are really important issues. We are mindful that things may look like they're getting better, but we might have a resurgence in the fall. There are many steps being taken to anticipate that, and part of the efforts of evaluating production of a vaccine is with that in mind. Also looking to the Southern Hemisphere for what happens there, because they typically have a reverse season from us, and then also understanding the evolution of the virus during the next bit of time. While flu season is pretty much over in most communities here in the U.S., it's not completely over everywhere, but you're right that we usually don't see cases in the summer except in people coming back from the Southern Hemisphere, and then we will be mindful in the fall.
And I would